Welcome back to Bro Baller Life. And I know that we love watching the NBA regular season, but where the regular season is built is in the offseason, and especially recently with the addition of super teams, quote unquote, we have definitely seen a lot of offseason moves that are crazy. For instance, you guys remember LeBron James taking his talents to South Beach, or Boston forming their Big Three, and Kevin Durant even 2 years ago joining the Golden State Warriors. Anyway, guys, we're going to go ahead and be counting down the 5 best offseason moves this year. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Dwight Howard is actually if you ask me, one of the more dominant centers of the late 2000s era, who rose really right after Shaq was on his downfall. Dwight Howard is a double-double machine, and when he was in Orlando, the guy was just putting up crazy numbers, averaging 22 and 14 rebounds at one point, shooting off of great efficiency. This guy is just dominant, a 6 foot, whatever he is, 7 foot center who can't really space the floor, but back then, he wasn't really introduced to the modern era. He's really an old-time center who can just finish around the rim, finish on alley-oops, contest shots, and play great defense. The 8-time All-Star and 3-time Defensive Player of the Year, you're definitely getting a great move. And I think when the Washington Wizards traded for him, the Wizards made a great move, and so did Dwight Howard. I think this year is where John Wall and Bradley Beal and Dwight Howard take it to the next level, with great role players around them like the Morris brothers and Kelly Oubre Jr. I think they're definitely going to take it to the next level. I think this was a great move for Dwight Howard, as it finally gives John Wall and Bradley Beal the center that they've been looking for and athleticism. Obviously, Marcin Gortat was there, but he was definitely a downgrade on the defensive end of the floor. And yes, he was solid, but he wasn't Dwight Howard level. This is the guy that averaged 17 points and 12 rebounds as his career and shoots over 58% from the field. Last year in Charlotte, he put up a double-double. I think this year in Washington, he's going to have an even better year than in Charlotte. I remember when he was playing in Atlanta and they were doing well, and they traded him to Charlotte. I thought, okay, him and Kemba Walker, but they didn't have anyone else, and I think Charlotte is definitely going down a downhill. But anyway, as for Dwight Howard, I think this was a great move, especially for the Wizards, bringing in Dwight Howard and trading Gortat for Austin Rivers to give him some life off the bench. This was definitely a great move for Dwight Howard, as he's only 32 years old and definitely has maybe a few more years of double-doubleness before he has to retire. Anyway, guys, let's go ahead and get on with number 4. Guys, if you think back to the 2009-2010 season, I don't know if you guys remember this, but that was the year Steph Curry was drafted by Golden State. And Steph Curry put up 17 points and 4 assists, 4 rebounds. And he actually didn't win Rookie of the Year that year. Who actually won Rookie of the Year was Tyreke Evans after he put up 20 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists. And joined LeBron and Michael as the only people to put up 25 and 5 in their rookie year. After Tyreke won Rookie of the Year, he actually ended up playing a few more seasons with Sacramento, but decreased in his efficiency and in his points per game because of the fact that Sacramento moved him from his true position as a point guard to shooting guard and even small forward at sometimes. After this, Sacramento actually traded him to New Orleans in 2013, and at New Orleans he was injured and he was playing that shooting guard position where Tyreke really doesn't do well. Even though he was putting up 14 points and 16 points in back-to-back seasons in New Orleans, he wasn't doing it on the greatest of efficiency and wasn't really being the playmaker that he really is and really what he showed last year. After the 2016-2017 season, I don't know if you guys remember this, but that was the year that DeMarcus Cousins requested out of Sacramento and got traded to New Orleans to play with Anthony Davis. And actually, part of that trade was Tyreke Evans coming back to Sacramento, where he put up like a terrible year as he was injured. But the next year, Sacramento let him go, and in free agency, he signed a 1-year deal with Memphis. I don't know if you guys were watching Memphis play, actually. They were a terrible team, tanking to get the number 4 pick in Jaren Jackson Jr. And he put up a great year. Tyreke Evans was the reason that I really watched Memphis play, because after Mike Conley got hurt, he came into the starting position and really filled it well. After he averaged 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and showed that he can knock down the three, averaging 40% from three and 45% from the field. He's definitely deserving a huge payday, and after he signed with Indiana this year, I think that they're definitely going to have a great season, as they have Victor Oladipo at the 3, Tyreek at the 1, and then they have Domantas Sabonis, they have Bogdan Bogdanovic, who can get hot in a minute. I think Indiana has a great case for going maybe all the way to the Eastern Conference Finals and going against probably Boston or one of the great teams in the East. Anyway, guys, I think this was a great move by Tyreek, and let's get on to number 3. I know all you guys are hating on DeMarcus Cousins right now because apparently he broke the NBA by signing with Golden State. But after his Achilles tear in 2017, according to Anthony Davis, right when they were just figuring it out, it definitely broke apart that team and the chemistry that was there. Actually, I remember watching that game. I actually watched the game where he tore his Achilles, and I remember watching him land and thinking, oh, it's not that bad. There's no way he tore his Achilles, but he actually did. The Achilles tear is actually an interesting tear. Happened to Kobe Bryant, and Kobe wasn't the same player after. DeMarcus Cousins, do I think he'll be the same player after? Probably not. But even if he's at like 30% of what he used to be, that's still better than JaVale McGee. And it definitely broke the NBA. I'm not going to lie. You're getting a center right now that shot 47% from the field, 35% from 3, and averaged 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists, 1.6 steals. He is the best center in the game, as he can pretty much do everything, and he's the epitome of a modern center who can work in the post, space out the floor shooting threes, is a playmaker, and can play great defense, stealing the ball and getting blocks. I think that this year is definitely going to be a recovery year for DeMarcus, and I know y'all are hating on him, but he can't even come back at best till December. So we won't even be able to see him on the floor with Golden State. We won't even see how that works till December. And, I don't know how it's going to work, but, I think DeMarcus Cousins, the reason why he chose this trade is number 1, because apparently no one offered him a deal. And number 2, because he's probably going to win a ring this year. And that's just going to be able to add that to his ring, along with being a 4-time All-Star and a 2-time All-NBA second team. He's definitely deserving of, just that contract. The fact that he never got a contract this year, it shows how bad the Achilles tear actually is and how scary it is to players. Now, I think this year, like I said, it's going to be a recovery year for DeMarcus, and we'll see really what he comes out as. I can't really tell you right now what he's going to look like, but like I said, even him coming back from an Achilles, I'd rather have him than JaVale McGee, because DeMarcus Cousins, this guy is fabulous, Anyway, guys, that's it for DeMarcus. Let's get on to number 2. I know you guys are actually remembering the Kawhi Leonard DeMar DeRozan trade. I remember when it happened. I was actually at a camp, and one of the counselors like, dude, Kawhi just got traded to the Raptors. And I was like, what? He got traded for DeRozan. And I was like, wow, that would be a trade that the Spurs would pull off, bringing in an all-star in DeMar DeRozan that still has a lot of contract left, while trading Kawhi Leonard and Danny Green, who both have expiring contracts. The 4-time All-Star is definitely a great player, and I think that after last year, averaging 23 points, 5 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting, showing that he can somewhat knock down the 3. I know it was only 31%. But I think going into this year, especially with the Spurs shooting coach, is showing what they can do with Kawhi, turning him into a great 3-point shooter. I think that DeMar is definitely going to come out of the gates as a great shooter from 3. And it's definitely going to bring the Spurs back into the top of the West. Probably, I'm predicting probably like a 4 or 5 seed. The West is just so great this year. And I think it was a great move even for Kawhi. It wasn't that great of a move. I don't really know about Kawhi, but for DeMar, it was a great move. Because right now he's in the Spurs, that team wasn't going anywhere. He doesn't have to carry all of the burden in the playoffs. I know that you guys, one of the famous things about the Spurs is that they disappear in the playoffs, him and Lowry. But this year he doesn't have to carry all the load, as they have the way the Spurs play with their team basketball. They have, LaMarcus Aldridge, who can also score in the post. They got Jim Mobley off the bench. They have a ton of great players to surround him with, Patty Mills. And I think that DeMar, he's not going to carry the whole load, but he's going to definitely have a great year this year. And for the Spurs, this was just a great trade to get back DeMar and to trade expiring contracts for DeMar. Anyway, guys, that's all I have to say about DeMar. Let's get on to number 1. I think you all saw this coming about a mile away. Number 1 is obviously LeBron James. Now, I think this year, especially with the way LeBron played last year, where, it looks like LeBron's just getting better every year. Him going to the Lakers. I actually watched the Lakers last year. I watched, Lonzo Ball be big baller brand. I watched Brandon Ingram play, got better as a player. I watched Kyle Kuzma play, who just tore it up in the league. I remember watching the Summer League, and I watched Lonzo and Kyle Kuzma because they were always talking about Kuzma in the Summer League. I was like, wow, this guy's going to be good, and he was. A steal trading D'Angelo Russell for Kyle Kuzma. Definitely a great trade on the Lakers' part. Definitely have that great young core, and they're bringing back Josh Hart. With LeBron James bringing in, it's a great move for LeBron. But for me, there's a reason that LeBron did this. He obviously didn't stay in the East for a free trip to the finals every year, and he didn't team up with the greatest players. I knew he wanted to bring in Kawhi, but I think that's his plan for next year after he bring in everyone on one-year contracts, bringing in Lance Stevenson on a 1 year, Rondo to help Lonzo develop. And actually, Rondo is probably one of the most selfless players in the league, playing backup for Lonzo, trying to teach him to play. They bring in, like I said, Lance Stevenson. They bring in Rondo. They bring in JaVale McGee on a 1-year contract. Bring in a great player, Michael Beasley, on a 1-year contract. They just got great players. Obviously, do I think they're probably going to... They might make the Western Conference Finals, but I doubt they're actually going to make the finals this year. I think LeBron's reign as 8 years in the finals is crazy. 8 years in the finals, LeBron. For the 3-time champion, 3-time final MVP, 4-time regular season MVP, 14 times All-Star, 12-time All-NBA first team. Enough said about LeBron. The dude's just fabulous. And I think going into this year, LeBron is definitely just going to show just how good he is and how much he can elevate the Lakers team. I think it's just going to be an awesome year. And why he bringing everyone on those 1-year contracts, I think it's because he's looking next year into free agency. Like I just talked about DeMar DeRozan and Kawhi. I think he's trying to bring in Kawhi next year. And we'll see how that goes. This year I think it's going to be a great year for LeBron. Anyway, guys, that's all I have for you guys today. If I missed somebody, go and comment it down below. Anyway, guys, I'll see y'all in the next one. Baller Life out.